All right. So you want to grow your podcast, huh? Get more listeners. Maybe even make it your career. Well, you came to the right place. We've got a deep dive today on podcast promotion.
That's right. We've got 25 actionable strategies from all sorts of sources.
Some you've probably heard of, others maybe not. You ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, so how much has the podcasting world changed, would you say?
Oh, it's changed a ton. We're talking about a whole different landscape now with all these new platform strategies. It's wild.
It is. It is. So where do we even start?
Well, I think it's really interesting what Think Media is doing.
Think Media.
Yeah, the folks that teach people how to be successful online.
Right.
Well, they've got this whole thing where they actually run 2 separate YouTube channels.
Two.
One for full podcast episodes, and another one, get this, just for short clips.
Interesting.
And they're saying they get way more views on the channel with the shorter videos.
So what's the takeaway there for our listeners, I mean?
Repurposing. Repurposing your content is key.
Okay, break that down for me.
You've already done the work, right? You recorded a full episode.
Right.
So why not slice it up? Make some smaller pieces.
Smaller pieces for
all those other platforms, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, even Facebook.
So you're saying folks might not find the full episode, but they'll find these little snippets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A whole new audience just waiting to discover you. Plus, you're respecting their time.
Because?
People are busy. Not everyone can listen to an hour-long podcast.
True.
But a 60-second clip while they're waiting in line for coffee, that they can do.
That's manageable.
Exactly. Speaking of short and manageable, how long should those clips be?
Yeah, how short are we talking here?
Well, Josh Ryan, he's built a whole business around social media for podcasts. He says 15 to 60 seconds.
Really?
That's it.
Sweet spot, apparently. Works across all the platforms.
So you're getting the most bang for your buck, so to speak. One piece of content, maximum reach.
Exactly. And get this, there's even technology to help you with this now. Riverside.fm, the platform for recording podcasts and videos, they have this thing called Magic Clips.
Magic Clips, what's that?
It uses AI to analyze your episode, finds the best parts automatically,
No way.
then turns them into clips ready to share.
AI can do that now. So it's like having the little assistant going through your episode, picking out the best bits.
You got it. Saves you a ton of time.
And speaking of saving time, you know what else they're saying AI can do? Write your show notes.
Oh, yeah. That's huge. Think of all the time you'll save.
It's amazing what technology can do these days.
It really is.
And while we're talking about time savers, Think Media. Those guys are smart. They have this other idea, especially for the holidays.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
They call them content marathons.
Content marathons.
They basically take a bunch of their best episodes or episodes around a certain theme,
Okay.
and they stitch them all together into these multi-hour videos.
So like a podcast, a marathon. Exactly. And get this. They say these marathons often actually do better than the individual episodes.
What do you think that is?
Well, people love having a curated listening experience. Someone else did all the work of putting it together. Plus, everyone else is taking a break during the holidays.
Less competition, more attention for your content.
Right. So we've got short clips for the busy folks, marathons for the deep divers. What else is there?
Well, remember good old SEO?
SEO, like for websites.
Not just for websites anymore. Think YouTube descriptions, your podcast titles.
Yeah.
Even the alt text on your images.
So it's all about thinking like a search engine.
Exactly. What are people searching for? What words are they typing in?
If they're looking for a podcast like ours, what will get them there?
Exactly. Shannon Hernandez, she's all about helping podcasters get discovered online. She says YouTube is basically a giant search engine now.
Makes sense. So how do we use that to our advantage?
Keywords. Use them everywhere. YouTube descriptions, podcast titles, even image alt text.
Keywords. Got it.
Oh, and don't forget about Pinterest.
Pinterest. Really?
I know, right? It sounds kind of strange, but think about it. People use Pinterest for visual inspiration.
True.
So if you create eye-catching images that link back to your podcast,
you might catch someone who'd never find you otherwise.
Exactly. It's like a visual gateway to your podcast.
I like that. So YouTube, Pinterest.
Yeah.
What other platforms are we missing?
Well, here's the thing. Social media algorithms,
Oh, I know them. They can be so frustrating.
One day you reach thousands of people, the next you're shadow banned.
It's like they're playing games with you.
Right. So how do you combat that?
Good question.
Josh Ryan suggests building an email list.
Really? Email. Seems a little old school.
It might seem that way, but it's a direct line to your most loyal listeners.
I see. No algorithm messing things up.
Exactly. You're in control.
So how do we get people to actually sign up for this email list?
Give them something valuable, exclusive content, early access, behind-the-scenes stuff.
Make them feel special, like they're part of a VIP club.
Exactly. You're building a community, just like on YouTube and Pinterest.
Okay, community, we're getting that.
Right. Speaking of community, Ben Leavitt, he's a podcasting consultant, helps shows grow. He says you need to go deep into online communities where your listeners already are.
Okay, so like Facebook groups, subreddits, maybe.
That's the idea. Places where people are already passionate about the things you talk about on your podcast.
But we're not just barging in, right? Like, hey, listen to my show.
Right. That's the worst thing you can do.
So what do we do instead? How do we approach these online communities?
That's a great question.
And a perfect place to pause. We'll pick that up and a whole lot more when we come back.
So how do we approach those communities?
Yeah, without being all salesy.
It's about providing value, answering questions, sharing helpful resources. Ben Leavitt, the consultant, he really stresses that.
So it's not about promoting the podcast.
Not directly, no.
It's about being part of the community.
Exactly. Become a familiar face.
People are more likely to listen if they know you, like you, trust you.
Right. Think of it like a warm introduction instead of a cold call.
Makes sense.
Ben also talks about giveaways, targeted giveaways.
Giveaways, okay, to attract the right listener.
Right. But here's the key. It can't be just any old prize.
So, like, not a gift card everyone could use.
Exactly. Something specifically relevant to your niche.
So for my sustainable living podcast,
What would your listeners actually want? Think about that.
reusable grocery bags, maybe a composting kit, something like that.
Exactly. Something that gets them excited. And when they share it with their friends, you reach even more people.
It's like a ripple effect.
Precisely.
So we're reaching new listeners with giveaways. What about collaborations?
Collaborations. Huge for growing your audience.
Like podcast swaps.
Yeah, like that.
I've heard about those.
Shannon Hernandez, she's great, compares it to how YouTubers do collabs.
It's a win-win, right?
Absolutely. You tap into each other's audience.
It's just, how do you find the right podcast to collaborate with?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. Gotta find a good match.
Someone whose listeners will actually like our show too.
Right. Start with shows in your niche. Think about who your ideal listener already follows.
I see.
And when you reach out, offer something valuable. Don't just ask for a favor.
Reciprocity, right? It's a two-way street.
Exactly.
Any tips for finding good podcasts to reach out to?
Yeah.
I mean, besides just searching around myself.
You could try a website like Audrey. They can help you find podcasts in your niche.
Audrey, okay, I'll check that out.
They've got all sorts of good tips, actually.
Oh, like what?
Creating a YouTube channel, running giveaways.
Okay, yeah, we talked about those. Anything else?
Oh, they say you should build a website hub.
A website for my podcast. But it's already on all the platforms.
It's about having one central place to send people
Whoa.
all your stuff. Show notes, links to your social media, maybe even merch.
Okay, I can see that. It's like a home base for the podcast.
Exactly. And just like with YouTube and Pinterest, use those SEO strategies.
To get the website found.
Right. People search for podcasts online. They could land on your website.
SEO, SEO, SEO. It's everywhere.
It is. But hey, you don't have to become an expert overnight.
Thank goodness.
There are lots of resources out there. Or you could even hire someone to help.
That's good to know. So we talked about Audrey's tips. What about Riverside Mom? They're the podcasting software company, right?
Yeah, they had some good social media ideas.
Oh, yeah?
They suggest mentioning brands or people with big followings in your episodes.
Okay.
Then you cut those mentions into clips, share them on social media, tag the person.
Like a shout out.
Exactly. They might even reshare it with their audience. Free promotion.
It's brilliant. So simple, but so effective.
They also said to share reviews and testimonials. On Instagram, especially.
Ooh, yeah. Like those movie trailers, you know? The best film of the year.
Exactly. People are more likely to listen if they see good reviews. Social proof.
Okay, so we covered a ton of stuff. Repurposing content, SEO, giveaways, collaborations, website hubs, social media strategies.
We did. It's a lot to take in.
It is. It's clear that growing a podcast takes work. It's not just hitting publish and hoping for the best.
You got to be creative. You got to be consistent. And you got to understand your audience.
What really stands out to me is the potential. It feels like podcasting is just getting started.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a personal medium.
Yeah, it feels different from video or written content.
And with all these new strategies, the possibilities for growth are huge.
Okay, so before we move on, any other nuggets of wisdom for our listeners? Anything we missed?
Well, we've talked about those short clips.
Yeah, those tension-grabbing ones. How do you even make them without spending hours editing? It feels like a lot of work.
Well, there are tools out there to help, like Riverside.fm, that platform.
One with the AI thing.
Yep. They have an editor built in. Makes it super easy to make those clips.
Oh, so you don't even have to do it manually.
Pretty much. Their AI can even recommend which parts to use. Saves you even more time.
Technology is wild. What else? Any other little tips or tricks to share?
Let me think. Oh, don't forget about taglines.
Taglines.
You know, like those radio ads? Coming up next, so-and-so talks about.
Ah, I see. So basically like a teaser for the next episode.
Exactly. Build some anticipation, get people hooked, share it on social media, everywhere.
Okay.
Oh, and if you're just starting out, brand new podcast, make sure to apply for that new and noteworthy section on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, I've heard that's a big deal.
It can be. It's like getting Apple's official stamp of approval. Helps new listeners find you.
Makes sense. Well, I think we covered just about everything.
We did repurposing content, SEO, collaborations, those online communities.
Website hubs, giveaways, social media strategies.
Even being authentic, letting your personality shine through.
It's a lot.
It is. But it all comes down to this. You got to create great content, connect with your audience, and make it easy for them to find you.
And fall in love with your show, right? Become loyal listeners.
Exactly.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible. So much valuable information. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Just this, imagine your ideal listener scrolling through their phone. What would make them stop and click on your podcast?
Good question.
That's the challenge. And hopefully all this information, all these strategies, they've given you some ideas.
Some inspiration, for sure. This has been amazing.
It has. Happy podcasting, everyone.